You know, there's a lot of great OU podcasts, but there's only one where the horns are always down. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Horns Down Podcast.
So, you know, what's really crazy is that we're actually starting on time, Jay. So, well, it's starting ahead of schedule. I know. But today, people, I got some good guys with me. We're gonna talk some ball for a little bit. Preview this TCU matchup. I got Jay from Unfair Sports. Obviously, could call him a guest of the show. You could call him one of the many co-hosts of the show, but definitely family. Then we got another one of my friends. Haven't talked to him in a while because I was a little bit salty about last year. But Landy Burdine is with us today. The TCU color analyst for TCU Football, TCU Radio, and Learfield Audio as well, right? So we got Landry with us, and he's a TCU guy, former player, all of that stuff. We could go on and on about the accolades, but he's somebody that I wasn't too fond of last year because they took my guy DG out, and we all know what happened in the game after that. But anyways, let's go ahead and just
Jay, I can't let that go, Jay. We got to address that right off. First of all, Kchris, always good to see you, my man. It is always good to see you. But that game was not – Dylan Gabriel being out of that game, come on, buddy. That didn't matter. That was just a bad football game from Oklahoma. Now, you also have to give me credit, Kchris. I've never been one to call you and send a text or anything. I mean, I take my losses, I take my wins, I keep my mouth shut on both. So hopefully you can appreciate that too.
I got
a good friend.
I got you.
That's right. Good friend. a good friend.
I understand Chris's saltiness because his saltiness is only one thing is we have to deal with Texas the next week, and now we've been hearing all that mess for like the last 365 days. So if Dylan wasn't out, we wouldn't have been dealing with the pushback of the Texas fans. So I think that's kind of where the difference maker is right there. But
anytime you have to deal with Texas fans is not fun. So I get that too.
Yeah, right. He doesn't like Texas like we don't, man. So it's horns down all around here. So with that being said, Landry, man, go ahead and just run us through this whole 360 of TCU. Like, kind of give us your thoughts about last year coming into this season, the expectation, and then just obviously where you guys are at now. Just run us through that.
Yeah, I mean, last year was a dream season. It was incredible. The last game didn't end the way that anybody wanted it to, but, I guarantee if I give you two that option or anybody else in the country that option, if they're being honest with themselves, they take it, right? To have a national championship run and to be in that game. It was incredible. And it was a senior-laden team. It was a bunch of guys that had been on campus at TCU and played a lot of games in purple for a really long time. That was a big part of it, right? And those guys were all about that place. They were all about each other because they played a lot of football games together, and that matters. So that certainly helped. But guys, the other part of it is most of those guys are playing in the league right now, and not just playing a little bit; they're playing a lot. There were some really good football players on that team. So you lost 80% of that offense, and every single one of those guys is either in a camp or playing significant minutes for NFL teams. And the same thing on the defensive side, man. You lost Dylan Horton, who's playing significant minutes for the Houston Texans, D. Winters, who had a huge playoffs, and he's playing for the 49ers now. You lost the Thorpe Award winner and Travis Hodges-Tomlins. I mean, you just go on and on and on, right? Yeah. And you lost a bunch of senior defensive linemen. So, I'm not shocked that there's been some struggles because you lose all that talent. You lose all those guys that have been on campus for a long time. This isn't OU, right? I mean, eventually we're going to get there, but we're not OU. We're not Texas. We don't have five deep at every position. And, so it takes a while to build that back up. And I think what they tried to do is they tried to do it with a lot of portal talent. And I think, guys, you're going to hear me probably talk about this a lot. I think that's going to be kind of a cyclical thing. I think it's kind of in vogue right now. But I think coaches are going to want to kind of get back to their core base of guys that they're plugging and filling holes with being high school talent that they grow and develop and that bleed for that place, right? That place matters to them. I mean, if you guys transfer 5 times or 4 times or 3 times in your career, you're probably not having a Horns Down podcast, right? Because you don't care as much. I mean, and so it matters. And I'm all about the portal. I'm not ragging on any kid for trying to better his situation, or I want to be close to my mom, or whatever, right? I think there's a place for it, but so the Frog's filled with a lot of portal guys, and some of them have been great. Some of them haven't really panned out, and so it's just been one of those years where it's a football team that's just trying to figure out who they are, and they're kind of finding it with one game left in the season. That's the frustrating part.
It kind of resembles. And hopefully this doesn't come off the wrong way, but it's kind of like Michigan State, because Michigan State had a really good year with all of the portal guys. And then, I don't know, for whatever, they just haven't been able to get on track. But I like Sonny Dykes as a coach. I think Sonny Dykes is a really good coach. And for me, and that's something I want to talk to you about before you have to jump off of here, but life after life in the Big 12 after OU and Texas leave, that's going to be a big point of interest for me, because I would love to hear what you have to say about who do you think is going to run it. Because obviously Cam Rising coming back, I think Utah is kind of is up there, but we'll talk about that in a second. But just coming into this season, and now you guys are, I believe, 5-6 right now, trying to get bowl eligible or whatnot. Just kind of, what are your thoughts overall on TCU this year, and kind of what's been going on?
They're like I said, they're starting to kind of figure out how to play football together. They've played better the last couple of weeks. Now, Baylor's not good, and so it's not like you can really hang your hat on that. But they played BYU really well. I mean, that was probably the most complete game TCU played. They spanked BYU, man. That game should have been a lot worse than it was. And you could say there were several opportunities in that Texas game where TCU should have won that football game, as bad as they played really in the first half. And so it's a talented team. It's a team that's starting to really like playing together now. And, that could make for an interesting night here in Norman, for sure.
Jay, before I let you go and ask your questions, I just got to say this to him, because I said this to you, I think, last week. I do not understand why on that last play against Texas, why the hell are you leaving those corners out there on the island? I'm like, go too high, cover two, do something. You have to put a safety to help. Like, what are we doing?
Well, you got to remember, all they had to get was a first down. If they get a first down, the game's over. Just because they got it on a deep ball doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I mean, you got to defend, 9 dudes on that Texas offense that are all, pretty bad dudes. And so, it's easy to be like, hey, you're an idiot because you let a guy go deep. Well, if that didn't happen, then one of those other jokers that's in the backfield is going to run it too. So, I mean, it's, they shouldn't have ever been in that position to begin with. But, yeah, I mean, the corner shouldn't get beat deep, especially at that point of the game, no doubt about it. But look who he's covering. I mean, that dude's no joke. So, it is what it is. Like I said, that game's not won or lost on that play. It was won or lost on several plays leading up to that. And, the Frogs did not play well in the first half. And the fact that they were still in that football game actually says a lot.
Yeah. Jay?
So, last year, coming into this year, you mentioned it, losing 8% of your offensive production. You lose Max Duggan's going to the NFL, and you get Dre Miller going to the NFL. He's, looking okay with the Saints right now. And I was looking you guys up before we was in a chat, and it was Emory Bailey. Monty Bailey. He transferred in from University of Louisiana, and he's looking good. Like, he's looking like Drake Miller, to be honest. He's got 1,000 yards already rushing this season. What's been the feeling about him there at the organization, and what his future looks like with TCU? Because I believe he's got at least one more year left before he has to go.
Yeah, no, he's Monty Bailey's legit. Look, he was a third stringer last year, but like you said, he's behind Kendre Miller, who's starting for the Saints, and he was behind Amari DiMercado, who's starting for the Arizona Cardinals. And so there's no shame in being third string behind 2 guys that are starting in the NFL right now, and both, being high productive guys. So he is Monty Bailey is a high level back. He's very fast. He hits the hole hard. He's physical. And the thing I like about him, man, he's the hardest working dude on the team. And you ask anybody, and they'll tell you the same thing. He does not miss practice. He's always healthy. He is always working out. He's always the first one there. always watches a lot of film. I mean, he's exactly what you want. And he's an absolute weapon. And so is his brother. His brother, Jordan Bailey, is on the team. And I think he's a freshman, but he might be the most electric guy on that roster. And they're kind of preserving his red shirt now, obviously with the season going how it is. But, look for those two guys next year. The Bailey brothers at TCU is going to be something that you guys need to keep an eye on, I can promise you.
I could totally see that. And as you mentioned, Chandler Morris isn't playing, so you got Josh Hoover, and it appears that Hoover's going to continue the rest of the season to understand what he is. How has he been doing with these wide receivers or whatnot? Like Savion Williams is probably the top guy on the team. How is Hoover? Would you assess him at quarterback right now?
He's young, right? I think he's a redshirt freshman. And so you get redshirt freshman mistakes sometimes with that, right? I mean, you just do. That's
yes.
Andy Dalton was the same way. Max Duggan was the same way. I mean, you guys see that at Oklahoma too. Whenever you're playing a young guy at quarterback, it just happens. And so he's had that. But what I'll tell you is, man, he has got an elite skill set. He throws a great ball. He has been making better and better decisions the last couple of weeks. That was really the issue. He goes out against BYU and is a world beater. I think he had 500-something yards, and then we go play Kansas State on the road, and guess what? Kansas State's like, that joker wasn't blitzed the whole game. Let's bring the house and see how he reacts. Well, he didn't react really well, right? He hadn't seen that. He hadn't seen the speed of that. And so, it's what happens when you play a young guy. But they're committed to getting him the reps and getting him the time. And, I can tell you just from watching him, he's a high-level quarterback, has a chance to be a star at TCU long-term.
Watching them against BYU, I was like, I'm still Chandler Morris all the way. That's my boy. But I was like, he's not bad. He's not bad. And
God, he had 500 yards against BYU. That's not bad. That's damn good, I think.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Jay, and God forbid we go out there and make him look like Tom Brady. I don't know what it is. Well, we should put the clamps down on somebody. I mean,
that's on the road. That's where we're really bad on the road.
Yeah.
We're really bad on the road when it comes to that. At home, we do better. I mean, we did well against Rocco in the second half. We shut them down there. We did the same thing to West Virginia. In the third quarter with 9 minutes and 28 seconds left in the game, that was the last time Garrett Green was able to complete a pass for the entirety of the rest of the game. So we show up at home right now. And it's that youth, right? You mentioned that it's, especially on the road, it's a new environment, depending on the weather, what it looks like. But for a lot of them, the moment is big, and adjusting to that can be tough. And so we're seeing that because we're playing a lot of young defenders. We got a lot of young defenders playing. So going into the SEC next year, we'll probably be a lot better off because they'll be used to being heckled nonstop, I guess you could say.
So Landry, let's go ahead and get to it. Tell us, man. Why does TCU come into Norman and do the unthinkable? Why does TCU lead with a win on Friday?
It's gonna be a stretch to get that done. I mean, Oklahoma has had its issues this year, obviously, but Oklahoma's a damn good football team, and I like a lot of the things they do on defense. TCU is kind of clicking at the right time, though. I'll tell you that. So if they have a chance, I'm glad it's this week. I'm glad we're playing Oklahoma this week because the Frogs have played really kind of 2 or 3 of their best football games that they've played all season. So that, that gives me some hope. I think the defense is playing as well as it's played as well. So, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens. It's not unthinkable. You guys, y'all forget. You go all the way back to, I think it was 96 was my freshman year. We won there. My first game. I think it was 05 we won at OU. It's happened like twice in the last 100 years. So, I mean, it can happen. Okay, guys, you got to remember that, right?
Yeah.
That's a joke, Chris. That's a joke. Yeah. No, it's a tall task, man. Winning in Norman is hard. I can remember the very first college football game I ever played in. I ran out on that field to run down a kickoff at 85,000 people. And I thought, what have I gotten myself into? It's just a different place, man. And the thing that I worry about when you have a young quarterback and you have inexperience kind of across the board is how do they handle that, and that's what you don't know. If you bring in a Max Duggan and a senior-laden team, I'm not worried about it at all, right? I mean, they've seen that before. So, it's going to be interesting, man. I think it's going to be a really good football game. I do. I think TCU is going to show up, and I think they're going to show well.
Man, one of the things I'm really interested to see, and Jay, go ahead and chime in if you want on this. We got to see if Dylan Gabriel's playing, because it could look like it could be a totally different game. It could be a totally different game.
That's why I'm looking at this spread. It's opened up at like 13. It's dropped to like 10.5. Vegas is really taking into account that we don't know who the quarterback's going to be in this game.
Yeah.
And honestly, if Gabriel, I was listening to Gabe and Teddy. They talked about this, how Dylan's head bounced off the ground off that tackle, similar against TCU. But he went back into the game the next play, and that was the play he missed Farouk wide open for a touchdown. And they were saying that luckily BYU's field is really soft. That may have actually helped prevent a bad concussion because of how not only bad their field is, but it's super soft because it's all that grass. That may have saved him from being out, but at the same time, it's a short turnaround too. So how do you truly evaluate that? I don't feel like we'll know until game time if DG plays, but at that point, we'll be playing a true freshman at home against TCU in that defense. And Sonny Dykes, who knows kind of.
But you'll have freshmen against freshmen, so we'll see a lot of mistakes. There,
right.
Look, the game's going to come down to defense at the end of the day. It really is. This can come down to Oklahoma's and TCU's defense, and whichever one plays better is going to win. The weapons on offense are what they are. I think both offenses, especially if you guys are playing your freshman quarterback, who I like a lot, by the way. I think there's going to be a lot of turnovers, a lot of mistakes made, those kind of things. But it's going to be interesting. I do not think Dylan Gabriel will play. That's just my guess. But those concussions, man, they're hard to mess with, especially these days. So it's going to be iffy if he does.
It's hard to gauge. I know people in the comments are saying, I know Kim said that you'll be playing a freshman, Boom Time, TJ Hamilton. Those guys are saying that BV said that DG will be ready to go. I don't know.
Optimistic.
To me, hella optimistic. To me, the biggest question is who actually shows up to call the plays. Is it Jeff Lebby or is it Jet Lebby? So that's another thing as well for me. I'm
gonna let you have that one. I'm not weighing in on any of that.
I just gotta figure it out. That's just my only thing. If we get Jeff, we're in there. I'm in there. But I think it's gonna be a pretty good game as well. It's gonna be a damn good way to end the season, man. I obviously fond of my Sooners, but I know that sometimes we can have lapses. And like I said, Sonny Dykes is a good coach, and I know they're gonna come in there with a great game plan. To try to exploit some of the weaknesses we've shown over these past few weeks. If there's ever a time that you have a great running game, this could be it. So I mean, that's going to be the thing. Trenches. It could be a trench war, honestly.
TCU struggled to run the football a little bit the last few weeks, so that could be a problem.
Good point. I got a question on you on that, Landry. On y'all's defense. I mean, I know y'all lost a lot, but it does seem like y'all have some production still there. Who's somebody on the defensive side we need to keep our eyes on for this game?
Yeah, it's a good question. So Namdi Obiizer is outside linebacker. He was a defensive back last year that they moved to linebacker. He's been probably the most productive defender that we have. That's been a move that has suited him well. He's a bigger guy. He's fast and he's a really good playmaker. Josh Newton at corner has played really well. He played opposite Trey Tomlinson last year, and he's been great. He's had a really good season so far this year. And I tell you, in the trenches, you talk about the trenches, Dominic Williams, the nose guard for TCU, who last year was playing, in the national championship as a 17-year-old. He was a true freshman going up against the Remington Award winner at Michigan and whooped him. And that is well documented. That's not a homer spin. He's a really good player. So keep an eye on Dom Williams. Those three guys are really, with Johnny Hodges out and there's some other injuries and things like that. So those are the three guys that are going to kind of make things go. Mark Perry's played a lot better. Senior safety, he was a key for us last year. He's played better. Bud Clark's been a little bit better here lately. But yeah, those three guys would be the ones that I would tell you to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I was looking at Namdi and seeing he's a top tackler on the team as well. He's got 4 sacks on the season. I didn't realize he played corner before that. Good God.
Safety.
So,
yeah, he was
safety. So,
yeah.
Playing in the secondaries in general at his side. I mean, he's listed at 6'3", what's that, 2 1/4? seems like he's probably playing a lot bigger than that, especially if he's getting the sacks and stuff like he's doing.
He's just fast. I mean, he's a fast, active. In the spot where they're using him suits him. He's able to drop into coverage. He's able to blitz. He plays the run well. They're utilizing
Adams.
him. Yeah, very similar, actually. Yeah. It's a good comparison.
Makes sense.
So, 2 questions before we let you go, Landry. But a question: how good is TCU's kicker?
That's a good one. Yeah, Griffin Kell, man. He's a senior. He's been around forever. He's actually really good. Griff, I don't know. He's had a couple of misses. One of them was kind of in a rain game, but man, overall, he is as reliable a guy as you can find. He's been around campus for a long time. I think I don't know if he's a super senior or not, but I know he's had 5 years anyway on campus, and actually just honored him on senior day last weekend. So yeah, Griffin Kell's really good.
There will be no Smith slander in here today. Okay, we'll let him be. I as you know, we've had some highs and some lows this season. But
yeah, I do.
Before we let you go, man, could you just kind of, what is your outlook? You know what? No. This is a question I want to ask you. So, life after OU and Texas in the Big 12, who runs it next year? Who is going to be the team? Because we see what Arizona is doing. We know what Utah has done and what's going to do with Cam Rising back. I don't know what's going to happen with, but I think TCU, Baylor, and Texas Tech are kind of the teams that you would say, hey, you guys have had most of the recent success. Can you guys continue that? In my earnest opinion, and I know this is going to piss people off, Okie Light should run it. Gundy should, hands down, outside of Kyle Whittingham, he should be the best coach in the Big 12 after OU and Texas leave. Can it happen? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. You're right. Oklahoma State should be near the top. It should be us, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State probably. And what I would do is just say to look at who's run it in the past, right? I mean, TCU has been there a lot, not just a little bit, but a hell of a lot more than Texas. And, I think you got to look at them. You got to look at Kansas State and what Chris Kleiman's doing there. He's one of the best coaches in college football. Yeah. TCU and Utah shared a conference for a number of years. So there's you can kind of look to that and see kind of what that rivalry looked like. It was a really good one. TCU got the better of them more often than Utah did, but it was always a good battle. So I definitely think they're going to be in there. I think that's near term, right? I think those are kind of near term. The next few years, those are the teams that are going to run it. But man, you look at, they brought in the biggest school in Florida in UCF and gave them a Power 5 school to recruit to. That's dangerous. You look at BYU and now they have a Power 5 to recruit to with one of the largest fan bases in the world, not just the country. And then you start going around, you're like, man, we might have made a mistake with some of these jokers, right? I mean, to give UCF and a good coach the ability to recruit Florida to a Power 5 program, I think that's going to be trouble. And I think UCF long-term may have the highest ceiling. But, man, I got to go with my Frogs. We've done nothing but win every conference we've ever gone in. And every Oklahoma fan that on the Horns Down podcast will love this. Dude, we were like 8-3 or 9-3 or something against the Horns in our time with them in the Big 12. And all we heard coming in was how, you wait until TCU gets into a real conference. You just wait until they do this, week to week. Come on, man. We put it on them every time, and it wasn't even close. So
third year, you guys go 12-1 and then 11-2. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's like, okay, man, y'all want to leave? I'll miss playing both Texas and Oklahoma. Probably Oklahoma more than Texas, just because I like y'all's fans better. Texas fans are insufferable, and I get to where I can't even be around them sometimes. But I look at it too, like, look, don't assume that, Horned Frogs do reside in Texas, by the way. I saw that comment. They're actually native to Texas. And one of the commenters just said Horned Frogs don't live in Texas. I look at it like this. TCU, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, they're all in a really good position to win a lot of football games. If I'm Texas or I'm Oklahoma, I'm nervous going into the SEC because, dude, I'm telling you, that may be one of those you're like, dang, I don't know. We might not should have done that deal. We could have won the Big 12 every year and been the national championship on every year. you're going to have to be elite. It's going to be a challenge. So that's how I look at it. I'm looking forward to the next few years in the Big 12, and I think TCU's got a chance to win it all every year. I think they're going to be in the mix.
Can that 12-team playoff helps, and plus, I know you guys are confident in Sonny Dykes. I think Jay and I can speak for the rest of the fans here. We're confident in BV.
I like BV a lot, man. I really do. I think he's a great coach, and I think that was a good hire. I really do. I agree with you on that.
I think the move helps us it's going to force us to have to go to the next level because sure, winning the Big 12 is great every year, and then going to the playoffs and getting your face stomped in, it gets old really, really fast.
Yeah, it does. Y'all been there too. Yeah,
you gotta level up. If you don't level up, so I think that move gives you that capability. So, but I totally agree with you. I'm excited to see what TCU does in the Big 12. There's a good chance for y'all to run that bad boy because y'all have won your conferences numerous times. So
number of times, it's been a good run. We've enjoyed being in the conference with you guys.
Well, Landry, hey man, we appreciate you for stopping by, man. Just tell everybody where they can find you. They can find you on Twitter, right?
Yeah, at Landy Burdine on Twitter. And most of it's gonna be Horned Frog content, but I try to keep it funny on there sometimes. And just give it a follow. And hey man, always enjoy talking to you guys. And hopefully one of these times when I'm up in Norman, I can come by and we can grab a beer or something together. It'd be fun.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Just let us know. We up here.
Well, good. We like that too. That's good. Well, you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. We'll see you around, man.
Andrew.
Okay, guys.
All right, Jay. So it's just us two. So you know what we have to do. We got to do this, okay? We got to talk about it. Jay, I'm about to go ahead and add it in. Let's get to it, man. Look.
Jesus Christ.
It's simple.
Go through this again.
It's simple. We got to win. I'm trying to make it to the Big 12 championship. I don't give a damn. I got to make it there. Jay, go ahead and explain this thing to the people because, I'm tired. All right. I'm tired of watching people try to make up these rules and regulations that don't make any sense. I feel like they just keep switching this stuff every 5 minutes. What's going on, man?
The thing that bothers me about all of this here is the fact that the rules literally got changed. Like, literally, they added words to the rules. It was not a clarification. The rules were 100% changed. And the way that you can see that they were changed was because in the conversation about it initially, the way the rules stated, if when you get to a 3-team tie and all 3 teams didn't play each other, the round robin's out. This is not like the old Big 12 where all 9 teams played against each other or 10 teams played everybody at least once. That didn't exist anymore. So because of that, if you ain't tied, if you tied and you ain't everybody play each other, you got to find a common opponent. That's when things was changed for everybody. We're like, all right, which I mean, technically, common opponent's probably going to be Iowa State at some point. That's the closest one besides Kansas. Iowa State was next. And of course we, got that. So it was pretty absurd because Kansas State was going to play Iowa State coming up. So didn't make any sense because once you do that put Oklahoma, if OU wins, Kansas State wins, and Oklahoma State wins out, that put Oklahoma and Kansas together because out of the common opponent, only those 2 beat them. And then their next common opponent is Texas. Done deal, right? They had to add that rule in there. We've always said that head-to-head takes precedence. But that's not how the rule was written. It's how it should have been written, but it wasn't. But now the way it looks is this. Make it simple for everybody. Oklahoma has to win. Oklahoma State has to lose. That's it. Don't matter after that. Because the other problem is if Texas does get hosed by Texas Tech, in which we're expecting Yormark to get them at some point, he's been plotting. He tried it against Kansas State. It failed. He tried it against TCU. It failed. He's trying to figure this out. Texas Tech is the game everybody was the biggest concern about. We expected it. There was a tweet that went out today. Oklahoma and Texas at 53 and 52 are the highest penalized teams in Big 12 play this year. 53-52. The next team is like 30. So that should tell you enough about how penalties are working in conference against, the 2 teams that are leaving. For some reason, we lead the conference in penalties, right? Should tell you enough how it is. So that's something to keep our eyes out for. But anyways, Oklahoma State needs to lose BYU, because if Texas loses to Tech, then both Oklahoma and Texas are out. It'll be Oklahoma State, Kansas State.
You said if what? Say that again now.
If Texas loses, Oklahoma and Texas are out of the Big 12 championship game.
This is written. So we have to root for Texas to win. I thought.
Yeah, we actually need them to win.
Quentin, my brother in Christ, step on up, boy. I don't know what y'all got to do, but I need y'all to go ahead and put Texas Tech down, because I thought it was simple as if either OSU or Texas loses, we're in there.
It's because the multiple tiebreaker piece that they have going on, and everybody. No, they're not the end, because we've run the numbers on the site. It's all about the fact of it being multiple teams with tiebreakers that throws everything off. Let me pull it up real quick. Give me just a second. I'm gonna tell y'all what the exact scenario is. If Texas loses and everybody else wins, okay, that puts them with Oklahoma State, so they do get in on that one. But there's a scenario that if Texas loses, and I think it's if Kansas State loses, Texas was one of these scenarios. Texas gets knocked out as a 7-2 team, which is the stupidest thing I've ever read in my life. Like, they have these rules written in a way to try to get Texas knocked out too. Believe me when I say that. We was running scenarios. I was like, this is dumb. That doesn't make any sense. How is Texas out in that scenario? Shouldn't be. But, that's the fun of how the Big 12 runs their rules.
OSU needs to lose, Texas win, OU in. That's what Quentin said.
We just need OSU to lose. For us, it's Oklahoma State. We need them to lose. We don't care about Texas. We need Oklahoma State to lose. Texas losing is just icing on the cake for us.
Yeah, it's just icing on the cake. First time in history a Sooner is hoping that a Texas win. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to see y'all win anything, but I because of what the Big 12 has done to us, and let's be real. Watching that Iowa State game, it had all the makings, because they tried to give Iowa State every chance, every opportunity to win that game. Because there was some times in that game where I was just like, Texas, y'all gonna have to go out here and win this game, because refs are not gonna give it to y'all. It's a lot of foul stuff that's going on early and often. But to the main point, man, you just got to beat TCU and just play the odds, man. Just play the odds. And to me, I think the football gods, they will reward you and give you a shot simply because of what was allowed to happen down there in Stillwater. But, I don't know. The Big 12 is just so confusing. And it seems like, to me, they're definitely something that's went on, because this can't be the rules. Like, it feels like week to week, it's just this is what's supposed to happen. It doesn't make any sense.
I just need Iowa State to go out there and beat Kansas State, and I need BYU to pull off the unthinkable against Oklahoma.
It just doesn't make any sense to me, because you're sitting there just like, the easiest thing to do is just go to NFL rules. There's no point. I get it that you beat that team, but if you have 3 losses in the if you have 3 losses in the Big 12, you should not be. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be in there. If one of these teams have 3 losses, it's clear cut as that. They're done.
Now, if there's a 3-way tie between Oklahoma, Texas, and OSU, which means Texas lost, but Iowa State beats Kansas State, then we'll go in against Texas. That'll give us another matchup. So Texas losing can help us. We just need Kansas State. The biggest thing is we need Iowa State to win, and with a Texas loss, or we need Oklahoma State to lose. That's really the only 2 scenarios we should care about.
I got you. I guess.
And I don't know why K-State quit. I don't know why K-State would even think that Iowa State's a walkover. They're not. Matt Campbell and John Heacock has figured it out, man. They have cracked the code with random players to make things happen, dog. They are really good at what they do.
Where is that game being played at?
It's in Manhattan. It's a road game. But, is Manhattan that much different than Ames?
No.
I think Kansas State got a better field, so may actually help Iowa State.
Man, don't even talk to me about bad fields. That stuff up there at BYU was ridiculous. They got to figure that out. Knowing
they're replacing their field this summer.
I'm about to say, knowing that they got money, knowing that they have money, they need to just rip it up and go ahead.
Yep.
They need to do something down here.
TJ, be confused because I'm confused too, man. I've run through all the scenarios, but the problem is I've run through this simulator, and the Big 12 has changed their rules on so many things. Like it says here, if Texas lose on Friday and 2 of the 3 lost teams win amongst Kansas State, Oklahoma State on Friday or Saturday, there will be 3 or 4 teams tied for both championship berth in multiple scenarios. Like, they don't have an answer. That's the problem. They don't have an answer. So it's going to lead to them interpreting it the way they want to interpret it. They're going to clarify it after Saturday happens. So if anything, give me an Iowa State dub, get an Oklahoma State loss, and I think we'll be fine.
Now, this is something. James Thrice has a comment. He says, Houston's the biggest loser. How many times is Gundy going to spot Dana the ball and you fail to capitalize?
Hey. Ollie Gordon is a monster.
Bro, you're up 23-9.
Ollie Gordon is a monster.
23-9. I'm like Donovan Smith. You don't have to force that. Why are you throwing that?
It's all because Dana's a god-awful coach.
I'm like, you don't have to do any of that. Just keep doing what y'all are doing. Just move the ball.
No, that would require being smart.
At one point, they quit until they got that interception. OSU quit. The biggest problem that I have with saying that BYU is going to beat OSU this Saturday is simply the fact that I don't know if Retlaff can throw the ball down the field. I've seen him on, a couple of times against us, but I don't. Outside of that, I haven't seen anything. I saw the West Virginia game and I was like, this is bad. So, I mean, if BYU comes in there and they can actually take care of the run game and you force him with those, you have to stop the slants. You got to stop that quick pass game. Bowman is good, but that quick pass game is what really hurts. If you can stop all that stuff, you're fine. But the fact of the matter is that, Ollie Gordon in that game, he can win by himself. But I think that they're going to have that. I would load the box and force him to throw it because that's what Gundy really wants to do. Gundy wants to open up that defense. So we'll see. But Retlaff offensively, they have to have a performance that resembles what they put on against us this week. And they can. I mean, they can. We've seen it, but I don't know.
No, you're right. You're right. We need BYU to run it down their throat.
Yeah.
Keep running it down their throat. And keep being successful down there, though. I think they'll be better, especially on the road on a better field. I think they can do that at State. And that's me too, TJ. I'd like to see that. We like to see that though. Quentin, we live at 9. What's live?
Yeah, at 9? What's going on, Quentin? So I guess it just to go ahead and ask you, what are your thoughts? Do you think OU gets to the Big 12 championship game?
Man,
what happens? What is the conversation on Sunday? Is it that OU finished the season 10-2, you're ahead of schedule, yada yada yada, or is the conversation you're 10-2 with a chance to win a Big 12 championship game?
I mean, I'm happy at 10-2, man. It's a rebuild. We're trying to figure things out. We got a whole bunch of young players on defense. Why complain? Right? He said in the community. So I say 10-2. We're ahead of schedule. We're doing God's work out there on the field, which is something good. So yeah, I'm happy with 10-2 personally, and then go to a bowl game, win that, finish season 11-2.
I'm content with it because I know what the expectation changed. The bar was raised after the Texas game, but it didn't work out. It kind of is what it is. We've already hashed out those problems. Don't need to go there again. But I'm gonna go out on a limb, man. I think that OU DNA, that Sooner magic happens, and I think you get in there. I think you find yourself in the Big 12 championship game with a chance to play.
I mean, I don't think that's a bad thought. I don't think it's a bad thought. I'm kind of with you with that. If we can, if we can make it happen, man. I don't think you're wrong. That'd be a great thing.
I think that Sooner magic comes in. So obviously we heard what Landry had to say. Let's go ahead and just kind of give our last thoughts about this game before we jump up off of here too. But what's your thoughts, man? So what do you think is going to happen? What OU do we see going into this game?
So I think that we're solid in this game. We play so much better at home. Now we're going to start slow. We start every game slow. That's just like the tradition. That's a tradition as old as the game itself for us, right? It's that victory gum. We always start games slow. And so because of that, I'm not super concerned if we start this game slow. I just want us to like show up and close it out. I like seeing us adjust and eat in like the second half and stuff like we be doing. I just want us to make sure that we don't let Imani Bailey eat us up on the ground. He's got 1,000 yards rushing already this season. As long as he don't eat us up and we don't let this freshman Josh Hoover do better than our freshman Jackson Arnold, I think I'll be all right.
Okay.
And they're not very good. They're not a very good team at all. We've seen them. They're not very good. So there's no reason why we can't have a good showing in this game. Mm-hmm. Like there's no excuse.
I think they're going to be pretty physical with us. I'm not necessarily overly worried about them. I know that the Hoover kid will take a shot occasionally. He's more worried about working the field, though. He's not a guy that's trying to just open up that defense. He will take a shot if it's there. He will try to he's very intermediate. That's how I describe him, an intermediate quarterback at this point in his career. Run game, just got to stop their run game. Got to be disciplined. But I think this is a game where you can see, hopefully Stutzman is going to be healthy and be ready to go. This is a game where you can see him and Kip Lewis and possibly either Kannick or McKenzie have some really good days. I think it really boils down to our defensive line. Can we be disciplined and can we get some run stops? Can we fit those gaps really well and help out that because it was kind of that was probably the worst game that I've seen from our front seven, or at least the linebackers and the D line that I've seen. It wasn't the best, but I think this is a game where you should be able to see McCullough a lot too. You should be able to see McCullough a lot, and I think that this is a game where he can get to that. But I mean, 10-2 to finish 10-2, regardless of how you if you make it to Arlington or not, you're ahead of schedule. 10-2 is way better than 6-7, and 10-2 shows these recruits. It shows everybody in the nation that, hey, you're going to be just fine. And I think next year I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the portal. And I'm excited for Stone, Okoye,
Nigel Smith. The best part about the going from 6-7 to 10-2 is we went 6-7 and finished with the top 5 recruiting class, right?
Yeah.
Right after that, we pull up this season. So like you said, it shows the buy-ins there. People are believing what BV is preaching. Like, no, it's going to get there. It's going to take us some time. We're realistic. We know that it's not going to be perfect day one. And we start doing it, and they're like, oh, man, y'all are y'all are just as great as you said you was going to be. Like, nah, we still got a lot of work to do. And BV keeps preaching that, and I appreciate it. And I think that, to me, jumps out, probably, if anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, it just the narrative has changed about OU. The narrative has changed about OU. I think some people are still trying to fill it out, but I think that's just a part of the process. And I think that BV is still building here. as what he wants. And I think year 3 and year 4 is going to be one of those years where you're going to be excited. Jackson Arnold will be a junior then. And then, obviously Stone and all the rest of them are going to be sophomores and all the rest of that. So you're just going to be really, really intrigued to see it. If Levy is still here, Levy's not going to have any excuses because he's going to have all those weapons at his disposal with this, especially with this recruiting class and what he could potentially bring in that 25 class as well. I would say, this TCU game, couple of things that I want to see. Got to see a lot of Gibson. I'd love to see a lot more of Gibson out there on the field. I think Gibson kind of helps with the vertical threat. I think would love to see us be very aggressive in the pass game and the run game. Just kind of like a more of a West Virginia type feel to this game. I would love to have that game plan where we're spreading them out and, they're running zone or whatever they want to run, and we're able to find those guys just going down the field, just running down the field. We'd love to see Farouk get active early on. I think this is a game where he can do that. I think it's a game where they're going to come out there trying to be physical. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they wanted to do. I mean, let's be honest. This is a team last year that, it's not like it's a secret, folks. TCU was going around telling everybody we had nobody to game plan for, right? As far as the offense matters. And so kind of is what it is. You can say that. I mean, Marvin Mims is still out there, so you still got to shut him down, but that's something that was going around. It's not a secret. So for me, it's all about going out there and not matching their physicality. It's about setting the tone. I think we talked about this last week. It's not OU versus TCU. It's not OU versus BYU. It's OU versus the expectation. So 9-3 is where a lot of the outside noise, that's where they had you at. 10-2 or better is where all the OU fans felt that you should be, looking at this schedule and looking at the talent that you've accumulated. So, I think it's going to be a really good game. Don't let it be a headache game. Don't let it be something that, you're leaving stuff out there. If it is, and I think that's the last topic that we should talk about, honestly, unless there's anything else, but if it is Jackson Arnold, man, I think you still got to run your same plays. You can't go out there trying to run a whole bunch of QB run game and trying to just run slants the entire game. I think you need to open up that playbook, run it like you want to, give him a full week of practice, a full week of reps with the first team, and go from there if Dillon Gabriel can't go. If Dillon Gabriel can go, Jay, as much as I'm kind of torn on Dillon sometimes, and I'm a huge Jackson Arnold fan. The right move is to play Dillon. You got to play Dillon. Finish it with the guy that got you here, but also finish it with the guy that Jeff Levy will allow to kind of rip it.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you coming around, as I've been preaching the Dillon Gabriel gospel this entire season. He's thrown for 3,200 yards this season. He had an 8 touchdown game. He's willing to run and try to truck folks. He's out there trying to show a little moxie and everything. And the biggest thing with DG is he'll rip it, just not the way everybody likes it. Like, that is funny because that deep pass that Jackson Arnold missed Nick Anderson on really, really bad on at the 5-yard, he literally had a 5-yard gap on the dude. That's underthrown. It's a touchdown, right? Yeah. It's one of those that you just got to get used to being able to throw it on the certain type of rope to certain players based upon the way, they run, blah, blah, blah. But I think Jackson Arnold will be fine. I don't know if Levy lets him run the whole playbook, though. That's the thing that I'm trying to warn Sooner fans on with him, is that it's going to take him this full season to learn the offense fully. And so it's going to be a lot of vanilla-ness to it. But at the same time, the good thing is he still gives them those options. So he gives them the play where, hey, this is your play. If the box is here, go with this. The Farouk play where he changed it to go to Farouk, that was the play design. That's good coaching. That's a sign of great coaching for young players. They do that in the NFL as well. They give quarterbacks those plays where the quarterback doesn't have to quote unquote think. They just say, hey, there's your 2 options. Pick one. or whatnot. You don't have to do as much work in trying to process the entire field. They have an idea what the defense is going to look like, take advantage of one of these two spots. And so I anticipate a lot more of that for JA. So you'll probably see a lot of audibles out of him in certain situations. Hopefully he picks the right audible. That's the other thing about that. But I do see them ripping it too, because that pass that he threw to Nick Anderson, even though it was overthrown, Levy was being aggressive, and the opportunity to just close this bad boy out. It was there.
That was a kill shot. Yeah, that was a kill shot. It was a beautiful double move by Anderson. It was just a connection that should have been made.
And we have those players that's going to give you those opportunities on double moves and give you the opportunity for kill shots. So because of that, I sense we'll get still some of that. Just don't expect jet sweeps and stuff. But my only thing I've ever said about jet sweeps, now I keep preaching this sermon on the top of the rooftop, is if you're going to run a jet sweep, make sure you actually have a run game going. If Tyree Walker is feeling better, you're going to mix him in with Salchuk and go. Teddy and Gabe mentioned this too, which I didn't think about it this way, but I think they're right. That the problem with Tyree last week, while he only ran the ball 5 times, is that he's probably still hurt. And they only played him to give Salchuk a breather. And they didn't want to play anybody else, which makes sense. You don't do that. I mean, he still got 5 yards to carry, which is never a bad thing. But at the same time, Salchuk's your bell cow for now, and you just get to keep running him down folks' throat.
Kim Hurst says if we make the same leap this spring that we did last year, we will shock the world. I have no doubt in that.
I say 10-2 next season again. I see another 10-2 season. Only 2 teams really scare me.
I can see our losses being kind of some just like what the hell type losses, maybe like a Mizzou or like a, dare I say it, like a Auburn, where we kind of sleepwalking into a game. You know, it's gonna be interesting. I can't wait to break down that schedule at one of these points with you, Jay, as far as just looking at, you know, hey man, this is the SEC schedule we've been talking about for the longest. Carvin said TCU pushed us around last year. Yeah, they did. I mean, that goes to my point. Like, hey, we got to set the tone for them this year. We got to set the tone.
Right.
Carvin also said if it is Jackson Arnold that plays, let him play. He ran the same offense in high school. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I don't think that Jeff Levy's going to have him on like a short leash, but I think that he's still going to have him calling home every second.
He ran a similar offense in high school, but he even said it himself that the calls are different. He got cards that they use to help with understanding the actual calls. So it's a similar offense, but it ain't the same. And this is from Jackson Arnold's mouth. When in an interview that he did recently, he actually over the summer, he talked about just the differences and stuff. He said there's a lot of similarities, but it is definitely a different animal in comparison.
Yeah. Let's see. James Strice, I agree, Jay. 10-2, a much more difficult schedule seems reasonable. Yeah, I mean, if you're 10-2 next year in the SEC, OU, 12 team playoff, you're in.
100%.
No doubt about it. I mean, let's just be real. I mean, obviously
that's
the Pac-12
that's number
is
10
going
in the
on.
rankings right there, easily in the SEC.
Yeah.
Because of the SEC, that is.
Because of the SEC, yeah, you get that boost. But yeah, man. I mean, that's kind of it for me. I'm excited about this game, man. I'm excited about the prospects of what could happen after this game. Jay, I'm telling you in my heart of hearts, man, I think that we are going to play for a Big 12 championship, man. I'm optimistic about it. Highly optimistic.
Keep that optimism in there for me too. I'm usually, y'all know I'm a cautious optimist on it, but I just don't know if the Big 12 is going to allow this bad boy. But hey, if Oklahoma State does what we do, what they expect them to do, what they be doing on a regular basis. I mean, they almost did it last week. But Dana didn't want to take hold of it, which they need to go ahead and fire him now. Fire him now. Get rid of him. Call it a day. You know what? Fire him and call Jeff Levy.
Then we face them next year.
I mean, we face them first week of the season. Sure. Bring it. Pull up. I'll take it. Unless Gus Malzahn leaves Texas A&M and then he goes to UCF. I mean, but I don't see him going to UCF. I've said this before. There's a very low chance that I see Lebby taking the job there, just because he felt slighted. So,
money talks. James Strice, hell yes, I have Brigham Young beating them. Hell yes, I do. I hope everything bad happens to OSU that on Saturday. What time is that game, by the way?
That game is Saturday at let me see. Saturday at 2:30.
Oh God, we gotta wait all the way till then. That should be 11 o'clock game. We've seen crazier things happen, folks. We've seen crazier things happen. Let's see it.
Midday with optimal weather. So, 40 degrees too. So it'll be perfect.
We'll see. All right, Jay, you got anything else to add before we jump up out of here, man?
No, I'm good, man. I think that this is going to be fun. It's crazy. Texas is only a 12.5-point favorite against Texas Tech at home. That's not what I would have expected.
Quentin, what's going on?
Oklahoma State's a 17.5-point favorite against BYU. That's I don't know if Tech's much better. Didn't they quarterback just hit the transfer portal?
Yeah.
Tyler Shaw said, I'm out.
Texas Tech cannot come out there and try to run Brooks 40 times during that game. They're going to have to let that quarterback rip it a couple of times. You got to match that big play, the big play ability of or the big plays that Texas is going to make here and there. You got to match that. You can't come out there trying to run the ball 40 times with him. But then again, McGuire's had a different game plan. I mean, hell, they put up 42. Didn't they blow somebody out like 2 weeks ago? No, they beat the hell out of Baylor this weekend, didn't they?
Yeah, they beat. That was TCU that did that. They blew out Tech?
Yeah, who did Tech play this past weekend?
UCF. They beat them by 1 point. 20.
But then they played somebody the week before.
They beat Kansas 16-13.
Okay,
and then they beat TCU 35-28.
Okay,
but they lost to BYU at BYU.
Yeah. I hate the Big 12.
I think everybody does at this point. Everybody's tired of it. But no, they blew out Baylor and Houston back-to-back weeks, 49-28 and then 39-14. So, yeah, they had back-to-back. That was the middle of the season, though. They ain't done nothing in the last few weeks.
Yeah. All right, people. Well, hey, that's been another episode of the Horns Down Podcast. If you would, please go ahead and like, subscribe, share, do all those things. Go over there to Unfair Sports to like, subscribe, follow, share, do all those different things. Got the website, got all that stuff going. And also shout out to our special guest, Landy Burdine, for coming on with us, man. That's my guy from TCU. He know what they did. He knows exactly what they did, but it's okay. It's all love, man. With that being said, we out.
You know, there's a lot of great OU podcasts,